Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining today. My name is Bill Dowling and I'm excited to walk you through the top reasons that PMOs fail. My name is Bill Dowling. I have 27 years of hands-on experience. Been at Microsoft for 13 years, AT&T and Singular, British Columbia government for 9 years. I've been an instructor at Bellevue College since 2008. I've presented at multiple PMO symposiums, Project Summit Worlds. I've got articles on Project Times, articles on MPUG. I've been on PM Podcast, Tech Desi, the radio show, and I'm also a 4-time author. The PMO Lifecycle, Building, Running, and Shutting Down, Project Management Communication Tools, the Tactical Guide for Building a PMO, and finally in 2008, the Project Management Communication Bible. Okay, we've got a great agenda. I get asked a lot around why do PMOs fail? And so we'll talk about why PMOs fail. We'll talk about some of the failure reasons. How do we resolve those failures? And then we'll do a quick wrap up. Sound good? Excellent. Well, let's keep going. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. The top reasons that projects and PMOs fail. So Yolandi Norji actually put together a great list here. Now I'm clearly not going to drain the slide, but let's talk about some of the things. Lack of stakeholder commitment, cookie cutter PMO, accountability and authority, the PMO Police. I'll just give you a minute to look at those. And of course, yeah, we're going to go deep in it. Good point, John. Yeah. The strategic versus tactical, that comes up a lot. A lack of analytics and metrics. And then finally, poor PMO staffing. So again, great reasons. And what I want to do is I want to take all those reasons and really help you prevent those failure points. And we'll go into that now. And here they are. So here are the top 7 reasons why PMOs fail. Stakeholder commitment, cookie cutter PMO leadership, accountability, authority, and responsibility, the PMO Police, strategic and tactical, lack of analysis and metrics, and poor PMO staffing. What do you think? Sound right? Yeah, we've seen those before. Okay, so how do we resolve those failures? Right? Tons of failure points there. So how do we resolve them? What are we going to do? So the first one is lack of stakeholder commitment. Now we've gone through this cycle before. It's called the PMO cycle. And so what happens? The PMO starts up. You get that smile, you get that handshake from your executive, and that smile and handshake lasts about 3 to 5 years. Then what happens is things get a little blurry. You're not getting that same smile and that same handshake from that executive. Ultimately, what will happen is your PMO will shut down. And for a period of time, there'll be no PMO. There'll still be projects. There'll still be things that are executing, but there won't be that formal structure of a PMO. Then what will happen? Something major, some major event will happen, and some executive will get a bright idea, and guess what that is? Can anyone guess? Yeah, John, Frank, Mary, yeah, you guys got it. They start up a PMO. So that's exactly what happens. Yeah, good guesses, guys, but clearly, right? And so that's the PMO cycle. I wrote about it in both of my books. I strongly believe it is something and that every PMO manager experiences, and I've experienced it multiple times. And like I said, you just sit really in that the PMO shut down, but the programs and projects still execute. And I just wanted to highlight that again because it's so important that programs and projects don't go away, but that formal structure of a PMO often does. Cookie cutter PMO, we hear this all the time, right? Not all PMOs are the same, therefore what would one work in one wouldn't work in the other. And some of that's true, some of that's not true. I personally hate this cookie cutter concept. I think there are some things that can work and work consistently. How we do risk management, how we do change management, how we do status reporting. I think that is something. But again, this is often what people determine why PMOs fail, so let's look at that. Would you suggest you look at PMOs differently and approach them differently? And don't assume old processes will work, but trust me, some of those will work. But the good thing is that every PMO will offer new and exciting challenges. So I'm certainly thrilled about that process, and that you can actually take some consistent things between one PMO to another. So don't get thrown off by this cookie cutter PMO thing. A lot of people put that up there. A lot of people say it's such a bad thing. Just hold on that, and don't think of it so bad. Number 3, accountability, authority, and responsibility. Right? This is so important. PMO managers need that LT support. Right? Without accountability, without authority, you're going to be lost, and your day-to-day execution of your PMO will almost be impossible. Right? PMO managers must put in an organization of authority and make the right calls for that organization. Right? So you have to be put in that spot where you're in charge of your organization. I can't stress that enough. And without it, if you're making decisions across budget and staffing and PMO or program management, project management, it will be impossible. If you don't have the authority, you will not be able to be successful. I can't stress that enough. Okay? Make sense? Yeah, again, we'll get questions at the end of the presentation. Okay, number 4, the PMO police, right? Too much policing is a bad thing, but on the other hand, you do need governance, right? So if you don't have any policing in place, right, that's a problem, right? But too much of it and too much process and too much policing of, hey, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, right? That will be a failure point, so you have to balance it. But again, think about the different models. Think about a directive PMO. Right, a directive PMO, this policing works okay. You must do a status reporting. You must do use the same color statuses, right? So there's a form of policing, but there's also that form of governance, and there's a blend and a balance there. So the PMO police can come across and actually look like it is a failure point, and it certainly is in some cases, but you just have to balance that. Number 5 is strategic versus tactical. I think this is critical. I've been running PMOs for a long time, and you have to have that balance, right? You have to have both a strategic and a tactical balance on the day-to-day business, because you're going to be pulled into both conversations. You're going to be very tactical onto the execution of a program or a project, and then you're also going to have to talk strategy and talk to executives and say, hey, where's your organization going? Too much strategy though, and if you're too strategic and you're too pie in the sky, you're going to lose what's happening on the execution of your projects. Too tactical and you don't look across. And so one of the learnings I've had as a PMO manager is you really have to look wide and not necessarily as deep as a project or program manager, but there are points when you have to go deep as well. So that's really, really important. Okay. Number 6, lack of stakeholder commitment, right? Balancing your stakeholder needs. I can't stress enough how important this is, right? You just have to have that commitment from your stakeholders, and you have to balance that on a constant basis, right? Some stakeholders will need lots of hand-holding, some won't need as much, but you as a PMO manager, you're going to need to understand that. The goal really though, if you don't have your stakeholder commitment and of succeeding and having your PMO succeeding, then your PMO will fail. And so as long as you as a PMO manager can get that commitment and hold on to that commitment, you'll really stop this failure point. But it's something that you've got to work long and hard and work a lot with your stakeholders on that process. So that's another one. Stakeholder commitment's a really strong one, and a strong one that you have to think about from a PMO failure point. Lack of analysis and metrics, right? When you think about that, we think about dashboards, right? Look at all the dashboards that we have and all the possibility of all the data that we're collecting. Well, with that data, you're going to do some analysis. You're going to do metrics. How well are projects executing? right? What projects are over budget? What projects are under budget? What's my dashboard look like? How many changes are occurring? What's the risks out there, right? As a PMO manager, you've got to provide the analysis and the data for people to do these metrics and really see the value that the PMO is performing. Without that, you're going to have to really justify hard on what your PMO is doing and what you're actually bringing to the organization. So summary dashboards, risk dashboards, change dashboards, all these various dashboards are critical in really helping people understand what value the PMOs bring into the organization. Poor PMO staffing. I can't stress enough how important this is, right? You really do need to understand the roles within your PMO, and you need to staff them appropriately. If you're hiring portfolio managers and they've never done it before, your program managers and they're really project managers, right? Really, staffing plays a big role, and as a PMO manager, you're responsible for that. You play that role, you play that responsibility, and you really spend that time understanding the role and then interviewing and diving deep and bringing the right people to the organization, right? PMO staffing is a critical component of why PMOs fail, because they just don't have the bodies and the staff and the people that can really help execute the programs and the projects. And I've seen that failure point for years, and that's something that continually comes up over and over again, and you just have to have high quality people to help you execute and drive the project forward. Again, from a program, portfolio, project, right? Do they have credentials, right? What are the things that you look for? Are they PMP, PGMP, PFMP? Right? What's their art versus science, right? We all know that's a critical component to being a project manager. Are they all science or are they all art? Do they know how to do risk logs? Can they do communicate without authority, influence without authority? Do they have great communication skills, right? You as a PMO manager, you really need to understand what are the qualifications these individuals need, and then you need to hire for those qualifications. Right? So poor staffing, again, really sits on you in the hiring decisions and what you do to bring in people and how you vet them through that process. So as we wrap up today, so as we summarize, we covered 7 reasons why PMOs fail, and we gave you some tools and we gave you some ideas to help prevent those failures. Each PMO is going to be unique, there's no question, right? And these 7 may not impact you, but most of them will, but you need to be aware of that. So watch out for these areas in your PMO and don't fall into the same traps that other PMO managers fall into. Check out my book, The PMO Lifecycle, Building, Running, and Shutting Down, on Amazon today. And again, reach out. My name is Bill Dow. You can get me at dowpublishingllc.com, Bill Dow at dowpublishingllc.com, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. There are my books on Amazon. Thank you again for your time. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's jump into questions. Do we have any questions?